Hello, welcome back. It is, I believe, is May 1st? Is it May 1st today?
Yeah.
Okay. May 1st, so it is officially Foster Care Awareness Month. And we're excited to launch that off with Samantha.
Yeah.
And what do you do here at Gateway Woods?
I'm a foster care case manager.
Okay, very fitting. So,
Yeah.
so how long have you been working here at Gateway?
Well, May 5th, I'll have reached officially my 6 months. So.
Okay. Happy Cinco de Mayo anniversary.
Yes. Yeah.
Very good. So that's how okay, so what were you doing before you came to Gateway?
I did a lot of substance abuse and mental illness. I worked for halfway houses, but more recently to coming here, I worked for Parkview Behavioral Health.
Okay. Wow. So how has that kind of prepared you for what you're doing here at Gateway?
I think in so many ways it was very different than what I thought it was going to be. And I was like, oh, I don't know that this will translate. But it really, really has. One of my first kids, I could go to all of her psychiatric appointments with her and I could help their medication management. And I was like, this does translate. I can do this. So in a lot of ways, it's helped me be able to establish relationships with people who are struggling. And even a lot of these kids come out of some crazy situations, and being able to use my knowledge to equip the foster parents too, sort of to handle situations like that, has been a really nice segue.
Yeah, for sure. I've said this probably many times, but when we are confident in our advice and our jobs, it just makes it easier.
Yeah.
Because you're in a role where you're liaison for the kids, but then also the parents, and then within the state, right?
Yeah.
So what is just one of your exciting points of your job? I guess there's probably a lot, but
yeah. I'm consistently amazed at how loving all the foster parents are. I was like, are you just born this way? Or you just wake up and you're so genuine and you're like, let me just take on anything in the whole world today. And in so many ways, just to see the difference in the kids from when they first get placed and I do my first initial assessment to now 6 months into some of my kids, just the difference that I've seen in the kids is, it's really great to see that we know that the difference is being made in our homes.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, in house parenting, you kind of saw that same thing. It's like the kids would come, there's somewhat of honeymoon stage, but then kind of the shell falls off, but there's still such growth that happens.
Yeah.
It can be ugly at times, but...
There are definitely those times right after the honeymoon phase, but all the work that you put in afterwards and that they're willing to put in makes a difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, when did you first hear about Gateway Woods?
I would say it's probably about last summer. Dan, my current supervisor, and I go to the same church. Okay. And I had been praying. There were some things... Well, when you're very comfortable in a situation, you're like, it'll take a lot to move me. Sure. And I was very comfortable in my other job. There were a lot of things I didn't agree with and I was uncomfortable with, but I was like, I've been doing this for 4 years. I'm just gonna stay doing this. But I had been praying, God, if this isn't something that you still want me to be doing, please gently move me out of my comfort zone. And Dan had actually said, hey, I just, we're hiring. And I'd heard that, and I was like, no, thank you. But foster care is really out of what I've ever done. And I was and he had talked about it. And I was like, God, you're talking to Dan instead of telling me what's going on. So that was probably the first time I heard about it. And it was one of the best decisions I made, jumping and going with it out of my comfort zone.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you answered that call, and I'm glad that Dan was used in that situation. For those of you who don't know Dan, we interviewed him about a year ago, but he's on the docket for later this month, so excited to kind of see him with a year under his belt, because I'm sure what he has to share is a lot different. If you have any questions, please chime in. Is there anything yet?
Nope.
Okay. So I had the privilege of interviewing Trayvon. I would say your better half, but that's probably not right. So your other half.
Yes, I'm the better half.
Yeah. So how did you guys meet?
We actually met when we were 11 or 12 at our church youth group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Love at first sight, or did it take a little bit?
I would not say at first sight. But he's so charismatic and friendly, and I was much more introverted, and I was like, oh, that's a good personality trait. So, and after a while, just hanging out in youth group. Yeah.
Very good. So, 11 or 12. So how long have you guys been married then?
We have been married. It'll be 2 years this fall.
Okay. And so we're coming up. Beth and I are on our 12 this July. So 2 years. Yeah, no, that's good times. I mean, 12's good times as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure 22 and 32. I haven't been there yet. So, but very blessed. Marriage is just an awesome thing.
Yeah.
And so how has, he obviously works here. Is that a good thing, or kind of you have to adjust to that? So.
Well, I don't see him very much.
Sure.
If I'm being honest, we have just very different schedules. And I'm out of the office when he's in the office. It's nice to carpool to work sometimes.
Yeah.
But it has just grown him so much coming here, and it has been really awesome to see him like thriving in an environment where he really feels fulfilled. And I think it was 100% a God moment that like we're both here, and just the growth that we've been able to have here has been great. I didn't even know he was so talkative and networking, and I was like, this is a good side of you.
Yeah.
Didn't know. So.
No, that's awesome to see areas of growth, like in a job, and it is a God thing because as humans we have so much potential, but it takes outside circumstances sometimes to bring out that potential.
Yeah. And
when you talked about comfort earlier, usually that potential doesn't come out when we're comfortable, right?
Yeah.
Not always. So awesome. So explain a little bit of like Foster Care Awareness Month and how people can get involved with Gateway Woods.
Yeah. Right now we have so many kids, and like they're great kids who have just awful circumstances, and being really able to bring them into good Christian homes who are able to pray for them, provide that support for them, provide that love for these kids, because a big thing we talk about is being that one supportive person in these kids' lives, and just surrounding them with the community that Gateway has here is, like I said before, just you see how much of a difference it is. And we've all heard about how foster care isn't always that great side of it. And ever since I've come here, it's been, like I said, these people are just so genuine, and I'm like, why? Why do you just love people so much? And I think it's just when God gives a call on people's hearts and they're willing to step into that, it's amazing the impact that can be made. So if it's ever been on your heart, God puts it on your heart because you can handle it. Even if it's scary, even if it's something out of your comfort zone, like it's on your heart because God thinks that you would be a great fit for it. So just the homes that are interested in that.
Amen. And so what kind of support or resources does Gateway provide to these families?
Almost everything.
Okay.
I couldn't even tell you something that we don't provide. There's just so many, between us as case managers, I think we are such an advocate, we are great liaisons, and I do most of the communication to make it easy for everybody across the board. My favorite part of my job is just being able to listen to them, because a lot of the times there's so many people involved, and then just being able to coordinate 5 different service providers and all in one, and getting that information to the parents, getting that service provider for the children. It's just, we do almost everything. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's nice to know that there's an advocate. Like, I think of boxing, the boxer's there. He's on his own, but somebody's in his corner.
Yeah.
So you're in their corner. So I like that analogy. So unpack a little bit of like dealing with the kids. Is there kind of within the time that you've been here, like a funny story or just something that kind of gets you excited to keep going? Because this work, obviously dealing with people, it's hard.
Yeah.
So is there something that you kind of fall back on, just like keeps you moving?
I think just the difference that is made in these kids. And so I have one of my very first kids. She actually chose to leave one of the homes, but I follow up with her all the time. And even though she made her situation a little bit out of it, but she's like, you know what? Sometimes I just want to go back to that. And her family, I keep in contact with her family. Her family said that they had so much support from us, and that was biological family. Even their therapists and her visitation supervisors, I keep in contact with them. And just everybody's like, oh, we wish she could be back in that situation, because it was such a good situation for her and she had so much support. And even now things have gone different ways for her, but being able to keep in touch with her and knowing that even the short amount of time we did have with her has been really impactful for her.
Amen. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, Dan is watching. And he wants to know what has been the most rewarding part about your work in foster care.
I think the most rewarding thing has been, it's been a while since I've dealt with kids one-on-one, and I was like, oh, these kids will not take to me or like me, and it's been great to just be able to build a rapport with the kids so quickly. And sometimes we even have conversations like, not to my foster parents, but I'm like, well, let's work the way we can tell your foster parents this, because it's not as big of a deal as you think. Sure. So just being able to build a rapport with the kids that quickly and have that relationship and be able to segue that into their foster parents would be the same advocate and resource for them. Yeah.
Wow. So unpack just maybe, obviously it's probably never a typical normal day, but like, what does a day in Samantha's life look like at Gateway Woods?
I usually wake up and read all my emails and all my text messages. All my foster parents wake up so early. But I usually check in with them. I check in with a couple of ones who I don't see as frequently. And then I'll come into the office, and then I'll do a lot of visits with my family. Sometimes I do transportation with them, or I go to doctor appointments with them. Okay. More recently, I've helped a family try to get childcare vouchers, so I'm faxing in all of that, spending forever on hold with all the other parties, and a lot of visits, and then just a lot of check-ins with the kids and their situations like school or their jobs or how therapy's going. Yeah.
Very good. So what is something that God's taught you in this role?
I think that the biggest learning point for me has been my life is just so much less stressful. And it's definitely an area where there can be stress, but I feel like before I was so busy with my job, my school, my family life, my church life, all the things I was doing and volunteering, it felt I had so many worries and so many stresses about things. And I think the transition in my life really happened when I decided to take the step to come here. And there are still points of the job where I'm like, okay, time to handle this. We can do this. But I just feel so much less stress. I feel so much less worry, and my balance of work and life. And Dan is so big on self-care. Yeah. And it has been just so easy to have self-care here. So easy to have that work-life balance, be with my family, and also be able to provide everything I can for the foster parents. And just, it feels so much not weighted down with the stress and the worry of that. And that's been a really appreciated growth from God. Definitely.
Wow, that's awesome. Stress, a healthy amount of stress is a good thing. But yeah, with
because I do my work really well, then I'm mildly stressed right around deadlines.
Yeah, but when we have too much stress, then it causes things. It causes types of coping that can be unhealthy. And so I'm glad to hear that Gateway is offering that opportunity for you to have a healthy amount of growth, and that God is teaching you through that. So, is there anything else you'd like to add or share or think or do a shout out or anything?
I just think if it's ever been on your heart, we have the kids for such a small amount of time in their life, and I've had kids who we've had for 4 months, and I know that they still keep contact with their foster parents. They're still in contact with their church family that they met. It's just the impact that can be made in such a small amount of time is immeasurable. So it's a small portion of our life, a small portion of their life, but the impact that it's going to have is so much more long term.
Amen. Well, I've enjoyed this time, and just bless you. God bless you in your work that you're doing. We're thankful for you and the rest of the foster care staff, and just being those advocates for not only the kids but the families, and just really doing kingdom work here. And so bless you with that. So there are needs for licensed families, so we just really pray that you would consider that for yourselves or for those that you know. Maybe share it within your church or just your community, and just pray right now this month specifically. It's Foster Care Month, and just bring awareness and just understanding that there are lots of kids out there that need homes, and it could be just even a temporary fix, but just opening up and being that loving place, that safe place.
We did have another question that came in. Paul and Leanne Fisher want to know, can you share about your schooling or training for social work and how your faith survived?
Yeah, well, school was crazy. I worked 3 and 4 jobs all the way up until my senior year of college. I majored in human services and social work with a focus on family services and chemical dependency. And it was such a stressful time, honestly. And I had my daughter in that time frame too. And just being able to balance everything and trusting in God that I would have enough hours in the day to get things done and focus on school, but still being able to give 100% to the work that I was doing. I was working in an internship at a halfway house at the time, and it was really important to me to be able to gain work experience along with my school experience, because you can read a textbook all day, but it's such a small portion of actual the life experience of it. And it was a time where I had just transitioned from my home church back home and moved here for college, and finding my place at a church that I felt was close to home was really hard in the beginning. But I had so much support from my church family and people who were willing to stand beside me and say, oh, I know that you are working until 3 a.m. and then you have a test at 8 a.m. Like, let's see a way I can help. And so it was really just trusting in God that this is the work that I'm supposed to be doing and the field that I'm supposed to be in, and that even in the hardest times and the difficult classes and the long hours, that I would be able to fulfill something that I feel like He had a goal for me in my life based on my life experiences.
Wow. Yeah.
A couple other comments that came in. Michelle Roberts says, love you, Samantha.
Oh, she's my favorite.
Danielle Wirtz says, so thankful that Samantha's on our team. And Trayvon chimed in with, you are absolutely amazing.
Nice.
And that's it.
So we need foster homes. So just pray for that, and also just really pray throughout this month for the kids that need these homes. I think it's close to 15,000 foster kids and
growing.
Yeah. Wow. Just in Indiana. So that doesn't obviously cover all over the world. So also just pray about openings that we have for volunteering or even careers. You can go to our website for more information there. And excited, next week we're actually going to have one of the families, Quinn and Sarah Fichter, will be next week. So please tune in next Wednesday at 12:30. Thank you.